Systemic racism is real, and the fight against systemic racism is black and brown folks' class war. Britain began colonizing and killing across the Americas in 1607, turning entire nations into property. By 1619, the first enslaved Africans were dragged to Virginia shores, sold like cargo, and forced into labor that built the wealth of this country. Every treaty made with indigenous peoples after that was broken, every single one, by presidents, generals, and lawmakers. That pattern wasn't random, it was systemic. Slavery supposedly ended in 1865, yet the system just rebranded itself. The 13th Amendment banned slavery except as punishment for a crime. And within months, southern states wrote black codes to arrest freed people for just existing. Prison labor filled the fields again. Jim Crow came next, legalizing segregation and giving police the authority to enforce white supremacy with badges instead of chains. Laws changed, but power did not. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, outlawing explicit racial discrimination. Paper promises stacked on centuries of pain. Does an entire nation built on racial hierarchy shift overnight because a pen moves? When did systemic racism end? Because many people believe it died with that bill. Since 1964, Congress has passed more than 30 major civil rights laws touching race, from fair housing acts to voting protections to hate crime statutes. The most recent, the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, passed in 2022. Why did America need an anti-lynching law in the 21st century? Because the system never stopped breathing. Nearly 360 years of slavery, genocide, and apartheid produced only about 60 years of alleged equality. During that so-called equality, black and brown families still faced policing that kills with impunity, redlining that gutted generational wealth, and a school-to-prison pipeline that criminalizes children for being poor. Healthcare deserts stretch across native lands where water is still poison and hospitals still vanish. Indigenous women disappear at staggering rates while law enforcement looks away. Reservation poverty climbs past 40% in some areas. These aren't ghosts of old policy, they're living systems. That's the equality so many point to when they say the fight is over. The violence just got quieter, wrapped in paperwork and zoning maps. The same government that once auctioned bodies now auctions communities to developers, landlords, and private prison shareholders. Systemic racism never ended, it adapted. It learned to smile for cameras while starving the same people it swore it freed. Not knowing all of this doesn't make anyone bad. It makes you human in a country that hides its crimes behind flags and slogans. Nobody's born knowing gender theory, racial history, or political rot. Once you learn, though, silence becomes a choice. Knowing better means acting better. Teach what you've learned. Stand where it hurts. Organize where you are. Mobilize when it counts. Resist every policy that feeds on human worth. Equality is not granted, it's built by hands that refuse to quit.